The recently completed petting zoo at Whispering Woods is a hit with visitors, and the staff can't complain either. The only thing they can complain about is how far away the staff area is, but Genevieve has a plan up her sleeve for that. In the meantime, new hires are working hard to welcome guests to the wildlife haven. One of these hires is Charlotte Baker. She's also volunteered to be the editor of Whispering Woods' magazine, the first edition of which you can find in the description below. With more people learning about Whispering Woods, perhaps our headkeeper Wesley shouldn't be too surprised when he is asked to make a trip out to a nearby farm where an older gentleman is caring for 2 foxes. Brian Tomlinson, animal lover, explains that he found them abandoned in the rain and took them in for the night. However, he thinks they would be much more comfortable at a facility like the Wildlife Haven, and Wesley agrees. Once the foxes are stronger, they'll need a comfortable new home. Welcome back to Whispering Woods Wildlife Haven. Hey everyone, Sparrow here. Today we're going to start off with checking the prices on our steam train, because most people seem to think that the prices are amazing or very cheap. So we will definitely have to raise those. I haven't done this yet, which is why they're only at $3. Let's see if we can try double that. And it looks like people still think it's really great. I also don't know if it updates every time you raise the price or once people get onto the train. I've never built a transport ride before. This is the first time. So maybe now that people are going onto the train, it will change their thoughts on the pricing. The zoo feels pretty small. I wouldn't say so anymore. A little bit though. Removed species exhibit. What does that even mean? What is the removed species? It won't even take me to the exhibit. Well, goodbye. Have a great time. Let's see what people think. Still much too low. We're going to raise it to $20 and then see what people say after that. Especially the new people arriving in the queue. I feel like that will be the deciding factor. I'm not sure that Sussex chicken should be out here. Shouldn't the Sussex chicken be inside a habitat? Hold on. We have some escaped chickens. I feel like our animals got children. Had children. Yes, that is the correct wording. And a lot of the time, baby animals will have different hitboxes than the adults. So let's go check out our chickens to make sure that the babies can't escape, because a lot of them are outside of the enclosure currently. And we can't even check what their traversable area is when they're outside of the enclosure. So we have one over here. We had another one by the tree. And let's just see what the heck is happening, because this is... I should have checked. I should have kept an eye on this when they first had chicks, but I did not. The baby animals might find little holes in the barrier, but it looks like they're jumping over the barrier, which is really strange, because you would think that if the babies can jump over the barrier, then the adults could also do that. We might just need to turn climbing off on the log, and then it will be completely fine. Going into today's speed build, now that we've got the animal management out of the way, we are going to be building a staff area, kind of centralized, behind the butterfly garden and to the left of the petting zoo. So this will be our main staff area. I want it to basically be a staff village, I guess. So it won't be one big building, it'll be a bunch of smaller buildings, very much in the style of the entrance. And as usual, we are going to be sinking them into the ground just to make sure that they're not super tall. I did try building this with the 4-meter tall buildings and I hated it. So we are sinking them into the ground. As you can see here, I tried doing them separately and they did not work. Therefore, I had to put them together, and then it did work. Mostly because the terrain collision sometimes is a little bit finicky. So if you want to sink a few different items into the ground, it will probably work better if you do them all together at once in a group rather than individually. And then we're gonna build some stairs using the elevated path length. I think I ended up doing 4 stair lengths up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. So 4 is this sweet spot here for 1 meter into the ground. So I would assume it would be in multiples of 4. A lot of things in Planet Zoo are multiples of 4 because you have the 4 meters for like all of the wall sets basically. And then also the path lengths are just 4 meters on the lowest end. So that works out as well. I did think about doing a little terrace here for the staff, but ended up deciding against. It will be a super simple staff area. They will still have a bunch of buildings to visit here, but from the steam train, it won't be anything super fancy. And guests obviously won't have access to this area either because it is a staff area. Once we have one section of the staff area, I am going to just show you one building using the same method. So we're using the limestone wall recolored to a off-white color. Yeah, not quite white. We also have the Indonesian temple stone. We have the Indonesian stained timber to delineate the two. And then we also have the limestone wall trim at the bottom. Because this building is not quite 4 meters all around, we will be using a few panels to fill in these gaps. Kind of annoying to get into the right spot, but I cannot stand the Z-biting of the walls, so this is where we're at. We are gonna have to double up the walls a little bit here just to make sure that they're covering up the other one. But overall, not too terrible. I feel like we didn't spend that much money this episode. It definitely spent a lot more money last episode. All in all, I think the staff area was like 25,000 maybe. Not too bad. That does sound like a lot of money. That is, yeah, basically a small wedding right there, 25,000. I would know. I'm planning one right now. Gonna get these coins into place on the edges just to make sure that we know how far out to put the stained timber, and then make sure we have all of our walls in place before edging the entire building in our trim. And then we'll steal some doors and windows from the other buildings. These $130 doors were the ones that we built for the entrance building. Probably not going to have as many windows as we have here right now. Just going to make sure that these are not cutting into the doors, and the limestone trim will eventually just kind of stick out, but that's okay because we will be putting mulch all around the edges of the building to hide all of that ugly terrain work. Definitely didn't need to go this hard on the details, but if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that's what it's all about. And then this Indonesian stained timber is going to go up to the edge of the limestone. This is what's basically going to connect the shingle roof onto the wall. So we want to make sure that there's a little bit of a believable adherence between the two. I do really like these classic windows. I think they work super well, and I have recolored all of the lights in the zoo to be a slight beige yellowy color, so it has a warm light rather than a very harsh modern grayish LED feel, because I don't know, I want it to be cozy, so the yellowish light definitely adheres to that. And here is the mulch all around the building. So I did rotate it slightly away from the building because usually you want your drainage to go away from the building. You never want water running towards it because that will cause a lot of problems structurally and aesthetically. So these panels are slightly slanted away from the building just to give that tiny bit of realism, and also because it helps to cover up a lot of the trim on the edges. And once we've done one building, that basically takes care of the style of all of the others. All around the staff area, we're gonna have these Twilight Gothic iron fences, which I don't think I've ever used before, but we had a very heated debate in the Discord recently about the Twilight Pack and about how the Twilight Pack pieces are not very useful in general. So I really wanted to make sure that I use them here and see exactly how useful they were. And honestly, these fences, they are quite specific, I will say that. They have a very specific style to them, but I did very much enjoy putting them around this staff area. I did have position snap turned on because you should be able to snap them to the end of the previous piece. A lot of the time it didn't work in the beginning, but you do just have to kind of fiddle around with it and make sure that you're putting it on the correct part of the fence, and then it should snap correctly. I did end up using the advanced movement tool quite a few times just to make sure that it was properly connected. But anyway, the security signs on the gates to make sure that guests don't go in there. And we're gonna recolor that to a slightly darker green in the end just to make sure that it blends in to the scenery around it. We don't want it to be super noticeable. For the planting, we are going to make a custom tag. Whispering Woo, because we ran out of characters to do Whispering Woods. Whispering Woo is going to be all of the plants that we put in here, and it's going to be a mix of basically everything that's in the surrounding area. So we have the creosote bushes, both the normal flowering and dry variants. We also have Siberian pea shrubs, we have nettles, we have the hedgerows, we have saltwort bushes, and just a whole bunch of foliage that will blend into the natural surroundings. A few trees, which you probably saw. But before we get to the planting, we're actually going to create a quarantine area here. I wanted to build a habitat this episode, but kind of ran out of time. For now, our red foxes are going to be in the quarantine area. And next episode, we are going to build them a proper habitat. As you can see, some of the barriers do not want to work because, again, we sunk the buildings into the ground, therefore the ground is not straight, which means that a lot of our barriers need to be sunk in as well. So we're going to do corrugated boards all the way around, and where we can't, we will also do null barriers because we are against the edges of buildings, so we might as well. And null barriers are slightly easier to work with because they don't quite seem to follow the same rules as other barriers. A lot of the time, if you start on one end, it might also be more difficult versus if you do the other end, it will connect to the existing barrier. So always make sure you check both ends before giving up on your barriers. Alright, our red foxes are almost ready to go in. We don't have much of a selection. I think we're gonna try the female fox first since there's only one of them. And then we will be able to compare mates between the other two and see which one works best for her. So we have Nikolai, very close to my fiance's name. And they are in the red, probably because it looks like he's injured because of that cross symbol there. And Gareth is in the green. Pretty similar genetics. Let's just double check one more time. Longevity would not be great with this pairing. Immunity would. This one definitely has a much bigger spread, but I think this one is better overall. So we will adopt Gareth and we'll put him into the quarantine along with Frederic. I love the Moon and Planet Zoo. Here's an overview of some of the red fox animations. The way they roll over, the way they scratch, the way they circle, and then just the way they rest. So adorable. I love the red foxes. This is the second time I've built for them, and I am very excited to give them a proper enclosure eventually. So as the new day dawns, we are going to take care of some management stuff. We have underpriced tickets apparently, so we're going to make the adult tickets $15 and the children's tickets $10. You can have these the same price without it affecting guest happiness. I just think it makes more sense to have adults more expensive than children, so we're just going to keep it that way. And then we kept getting alerts that some of the habitats were overcrowded. So I did need to make a short stop to see which animals exactly were having issues. The alpacas seem okay. Our juvenile will be reaching mature age in just a little bit, so I'm going to put him on contraceptives to make sure that he does not get pregnant by his mother. Our goats are completely fine. Our donkeys are both female, so they can't reproduce as it is. Our Highland cattle are starting to get up there in age, and there are quite a few that are of mature age that should not be breeding with their own father. We're going to trade one out because why not? We probably have enough as it is. Our sheep, I am going to adopt a female, I think, because it looks like we only have males at the moment. We do have the ones that we want to keep. This one we're going to trade out because he was the father of the others. And now that we have 4 male sheep, let's just see what's available on the market for females and then see which ones work the best in terms of genetics. So we do not have very much wiggle room here. We have 1 female sheep, and we're just gonna compare all of the different fathers. So it does look like the ones that we've marked to keep are pretty decent. Also, this one has off-white wool, and the 2 that we have marked as keep have white wool versus the other ones have off-white wool. So we do want to keep as much genetic diversity as possible just to have different coat colors in our animals if possible. We are going to end up keeping Southly and Wright, and then trading out Jorrel and Larone just to make sure that we have those different variations. And of course, making sure we put them in quarantine first before putting them in the enclosure, because we do not want sick animals in the enclosures. Which brings me to our last few animals that we need to take care of. We have the chickens and we have the pigs. The pigs, as you can see, are in the orange, which means their welfare is okay, but it could be better. And a lot of that has to do with them being infected by something. I don't know why. Maybe because they roll around in the mud all day and there's not that much room for them. But I have had to remove the pigs from this enclosure at least 2 or 3 times now because they keep just getting infected by some disease. Maybe we need to put our vets on some disease research just so that it's easier to take care of. But again, like there are a lot of pigs in here, so I can't entirely blame the game for doing that. We are going to keep Connor. And then we're going to sell off the 2 males that we have because they are considered outsiders at the moment, which means that they will fight with the alpha pig. Pigs generally have only 1 male, and then we'll have a bunch of females. So I think we'll put most of the females on contraceptives at the moment. We really do not want more pigs in this enclosure. And then we'll see how the breeding pairs do in the next little bit. And we might just keep all the females and adopt a new male because that will be the cheapest and the easiest course of action. The final animal that we need to manage is the Sussex chicken, which we know, because of earlier, has slightly escaped its enclosure. Only the little ones though. And it looks like all of the little ones have actually grown up. We do have mostly white chickens, but we do have 1 darker colored chicken. So I would like to keep her, as well as the other gold rated chick. And then we're gonna keep another one. So we have 3 female chickens that will basically be our next generation of chickens once these ones die out. And then all we'll have to do is purchase a new male who is not related to them so that they can continue breeding. For now, I think we're basically just gonna keep these guys around. It's nice to have a lot of chickens clucking around their enclosure. Finally, we are going to do some planting around the staff area using our new Whispering Woo tag in the foliage tab. So again, you can see that we have a lot of wild hedgerows, we have some saltwort, creosote, nettles, we also have some big blue stem grass, and then some logs and broken trees. For our trees, we are going to be using mostly the sycamore maple, the common ash tree, the beech tree, and I think I used a few broken ipe trees, which are not from Europe at all. They are from South America, but they do look really good. And I do think it's kind of an oversight that we don't have a broken tree from every biome that is available. Like that would, maybe tundra wouldn't make sense, but every other one would make sense. So Frontier, if you could give us broken trees from every biome, that would be great. This staff area off to the side of the staff room, I'm just going to screen off with some fabric tarps because I highly doubt the staff would want guests looking at them while they're taking a break in this back area. There are windows in the barrier, which is just an option in the barriers tab so that the staff can watch over whichever animal is in quarantine at the time. And then I also made sure to use some ropes to keep up these tarps and try to rotate them in a way that was in line with real life physics, which is not at all a thing in Planet Zoo. And take that with a grain of salt, depends on how realistic you want your builds to be. Covered the pergola with some wisteria fill. These will mostly just help to provide shade for the staff, as well as add some more greenery to this area. And then some fairy lights just to pretty up the area. To prevent guests from walking through the staff area, I'm going to place these staff paths at each entrance and then place down a bunch of tropical leaf litter on top of each one to make sure that we can't see the ugly staff paths. We want it to look as natural as possible, which means that I'm also going to dot the tropical leaf litter all over the place to make sure that it's not just by each entrance, which looks very suspicious. This did help to bring the area together. And since we're doing a staff area, I'm also going to recolor the staff uniforms to make sure that they match the Whispering Woods colors. Please welcome our newest staff members, 2 Whispering Woods, which also means that we need to figure out the work zones. We have our central area with the butterfly exhibit and the entrance. And then we also have the petting zoo as our secondary area. Because we have a centralized staff area, I'm going to make sure that a lot of those buildings are part of the petting zoo area as well. We do have a keeper hut, some restrooms, and a bunch of facilities in the petting zoo, but we need to make sure that the staff have a staff room that is accessible. And speaking of staff rooms, the staff rooms can actually have a perk if you go into the staff menu. So these will basically give your staff different buffs every time they rest at the staff room. This could be anything from remaining happy when dealing with terrible customers, or maybe not losing energy as quickly. That's the one we're gonna go with. So rec room basically means that your staff rest up a little bit more quickly, they can get back to their jobs faster, and they regain energy faster as well. And that's the one we're gonna go with. Now that we've hired a little bit more staff, I'm also gonna sort out their work zones. We do have a few security guards. We should probably train them up just a little bit. Training them up makes them better at their jobs. Depending on how high in demand the work zone is, they don't have to be at 5 stars. I do like to have 1 person per category with 5 stars just because that adds to realism. Like, it's the head coach of that area basically. So we have a 5-star caretaker, we have a 5-star zookeeper, we have a 5-star vet, and so on. And then all the newbies kind of start in this middle area with the butterfly exhibit. So that's all for today. I hope you stick around to see our red fox enclosure for next time. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you next time. Bye.